Hey gang. Alright, so this new interface from Facebook is not amazing, but it's not horrible. So who knows? We'll get used to it eventually. Now that I've figured out how to make it work at any rate. There's all sorts of things here that we can do. Ooh, we could make a poll. We could create a poll to ask questions during the live video. Well, that would be fun. We could set up comment moderation. We would have to have had more people, though, I think. That would be sort of silly. Oh, I could make it so that you couldn't comment unless you'd been following me for at least 15 minutes. That seems really helpful. Thanks, Facebook. Alright, so in all seriousness, so last week we talked, or ranted, or whatever words you want to use, about pagan parenting and resources and events that are out there compared to like all the material that's out there, or lack thereof. And I'm still just baffled by a lot of our community, honestly. You know, we have two full-fledged pagan seminaries. We have Cherry Hill Seminary, and we have the Wolstenstein Seminary of the ATC. So those are out there. They were founded back in the day, and they have survived this long. Sometimes I suspect that's on sheer force of will and personality, but they did survive. There used to be so many more things, so many more organizations and groups. And I feel like we're just all so scattered, especially like Witchfox has closed, as some of you know, and yet I'm still seeing people suggest them as a great source of networking. So let's talk about networking a little bit, because I know it comes up every once in a while. Several of the groups I'm in, people are like, well, how do you find a coven? I'm new. I want someone to teach me. How do I figure it out? Well, the first thing is you have to know people. Most covens are not so public that they're going to let anybody walk in the door. If they are that public, then they are a public temple or community center or something along those lines offering public rituals. And if that's the case, then you go to those rituals and meet people. Right? This is a people problem. This is you need to know people, and they need to know you before they are going to invite you to join them for a less public event. This is not like walking into a Catholic church in the middle of a service and just stopping by at the end and saying, hey, I want to join. How do I do that? Right? Most covens are small groups. They meet in people's houses. And honestly, we are more paranoid about going to people's houses today than we were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you would go show up at somebody's house randomly for something. You would post your address on a flyer, meet at this time at this place, and people would show up, you know? At least where I lived. So, it's not like people just want you to show up at their house if they don't know who you are. And since most covens meet in people's houses or their backyards, that's a key thing. They have to know who you are. You have to go out and meet people. And I'm going to tell you, as an introvert and somebody with severe social anxiety, that part of this whole thing sucks, at least as far as I'm concerned. This is why public events and public spaces are important. Go to your local shops. There are some somewhere around you, probably within an hour's drive. I would venture to guess that most people are going to find a shop. Now, maybe not if you live someplace like my mom, where there's only one grocery store for the whole county. But beyond that, if you are anywhere in a major city, or in a suburb, or even an outer ring suburb, There's going to be some place that you can go. Even in a lot of smaller rural towns, there are places. You just have to look for them. Look and see who sells candles. Look and see who sells incense. It's, you know, our shops used to hide in plain sight. We didn't advertise as pagan shops. We didn't advertise as occult stores. They advertised as candle shops and curio shops and gift shops. Or bookstores, right? They talked about what they sold, not what kind of those things they sold. So look around. Get your search engine of choice out and type in candle stores near me, or incense stores near me, or even pagan stores near me, and see what you get. If you search on Facebook with your state and the word pagan or the word Wiccan, you are likely to find a group. A public group. Or with your major city. Like here you would do Detroit or Southeast Michigan or just Michigan. You will find people. They are out there. And then you have to participate in those groups and be a part of that community. And getting to know people is a key to being invited to join things. And I know that sounds like work, it sounds hard, but sometimes it is hard, right? This is not an easy path that you're deciding to follow. If it was super easy, then everybody would do it. If you have never heard of any pagan events going on within, say, a 2-hour drive of you, then you're not looking hard enough, right? When I lived in rural Missouri, there was a group in the town I lived in, where I went to university. There was a festival half an hour south of us at a big outdoor campground. There was another festival an hour north of us at a permanent, semi-permanent campground. I think they finally ran out of money and sold their facility about 5 or 6 years ago. These things are out there, guys. If you're not finding them, you're not looking. If you don't know how to find them, hit me up. I'll help you figure it out. But there are people out there. You have to, the other thing is, not every person is going to be the right fit for every group, and not every group is going to be the right fit for every person. You want a group that matches your intent and that matches the way you work. Now that might be straightforward, right? If you are interested in working with Greek gods, don't go try to join a group of Asatru, because it's just not going to work for you. Go figure out where the groups are that are those specific things that you're looking for. If you have kids, go join Spiral Scouts, because Spiral Scouts has people all over the place too. There may not be a group of Spiral Scouts near you, but there will be people in their groups who are relatively close to you, or at least in your state, and can give you suggestions. Go investigate something like Covenant of the Goddess, or the Aquarian Tabernacle Church, or who else is a big group right now? Anyway, go look for those sorts of groups. Go look for pagan festivals. Go look, obviously festivals right now are a total mess because everything is closed for the pandemic. But their Facebook groups and their discussion groups and their websites, all those things still exist. And you can go find them and find the community via those sites. But you should probably read enough to know what you're looking for, right? Are you looking for a really traditional Wiccan group? Are you looking for a more eclectic group? Are you looking for a more polytheist group? Are you looking for, I don't know, Northern Europe, Southern Europe, Egypt, the Baltics, Celtic stuff, Mayan stuff? I mean, like, figure out what you're interested in and start looking for those things too. Because if you don't know what you're interested in and you go looking for someone to teach you, you may not get the things you're looking for. They may teach you what they know, but it may not be anything that's very useful to you. You know, there are plenty of books for solitary practitioners. There's sort of the traditional Cunningham's Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. There's Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft, sometimes known as Bucky's Big Blue Book, right? It's like the book that used to be all over the place. It is very British traditional Wicca, so it may not be to your liking, but if you read it and you hate it, then you know you shouldn't go looking for a traditional Gardnerian or Alexandrian coven, because it's just not going to be your thing. I don't know, there's all kinds of stuff out there, right? There's the OTO, and there's groups that are more occult-minded, magically minded, groups that are more witchy or more kitchen witch or more herbalist or whatever. Figure out what you want to do and then start looking for groups that do those things. I don't know. I feel like our shops have mostly gotten rid of their class space because store space is expensive, but they're still pretty good places to network. Most of them still have places where you can put up flyers. Most of them still have websites or Facebook pages or whatever where you can network. And I cannot begin to stress how important that networking is, right? That networking makes you a part of the community, and even if you're a solitary, that community connection matters. That's how you ask for help. That's how you learn about things that are going on, and that's how you meet other people like you. And knowing other people makes the whole thing less isolating. So I feel like that's really important, and if you're not doing those sorts of things, you probably should really take a hard look at it and think about why it is that you aren't doing those things. And yes, I still absolutely think that before you find a teacher, you need to understand that teaching is an energy exchange. You're getting stuff from them. They're going to get stuff from you. And you should consider whether their stuff is something you want. That stuff is not just knowledge. It is their reputation. It is their like who they are in the community. It is, if you learn from somebody who's not actually telling you the truth, then that's going to come out when you participate more in the wider community. So decide whether you want that person's energy really before you get involved in listening to them or taking a class from them or studying with them, because these things mattered. So that's about all I got for tonight. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.